On the back straightaway, into turn number 3, thick thin, still 3 wide, Brighton and Feeney, high, wide, and handsome. He's going to go to the outside and get past Camilla.
I don't mean to be two birds and bees with you folks, but this is how cautions are born.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Feeney Call. This week's guest will be the one and only Corey Halbert from the Canadian Modified Series down at Brighton Speedway. Before we get him in here to do our interview, we're gonna do a little weekly recap of what I did this week. Not much in the form of racing, obviously, but for some weird reason, you guys seem to like the bowling updates. As I get 4 or 5 requests to ask how I do each week and stuff like that, especially if I have tournaments and stuff like that. So, yeah, had a tournament on Saturday. We started strong, had a big struggle during the transitional games through 3 and 4. So I bowled 236, 201, I think 168, 165, and then back to 203. I missed the cut by like 50 some odd pins to make match play. However, I'm a little down about it, but at the same time, it's one of those things that I accept because it's the first year I've kind of been bowling on sport shot and stuff like that. So I'm learning, I'm getting more and more used to it. I'm getting my sport shot average up. I averaged just under 195 for the day, so I can't really complain about that. It was a tougher pattern to play for me, and I don't have the equipment so much to sometimes chase what those sport shot needs. Then I bowled Sunday in my league, and the rough day started with a 168 to start Sunday, to then a 241, which ended with 2 splits after 8 in a row to begin the game. So back to a 183 to continue the rough days, and then like a 268. For 860 on the day. Oh yeah, I shot 973 on Saturday. So over 5 games, 860s over 4. So not a horrible weekend overall, but there's your bowling updates that some of you guys have been asking for. I guess a few of you guys are bowlers and stuff like that, and you enjoy it and need something to do in the off season other than work on the cars all the time. We do have the 2024 Motorama show fast approaching. I'm probably going to be there on Saturday. I don't know about Friday night or Sunday yet. It's just one of those things that I like going seeing cars and stuff like that. And I think we're going to be doing some stuff with Jomo Media there. I don't know if I'll be doing much personally. As big crowds are not normally my thing. But definitely maybe hand in some stickers. We're getting some Feeney Call hats made up. Hopefully have in time for the Motorama car show. So yeah, long story short, if you haven't ordered your hat already, I think there's, as of recording this on Tuesday, I think there's 4 of each color left at this current time. So maybe by the time this comes out, there might be less or might be 1 or 2. Either way, if you would like to get a Feeney Call hat, let me know, message me, and I can mark you down. We have the black on black, and then we have the black with the cyan blue on the back, made by Wheelhouse 10, which is one of our podcast sponsors. I'll also have, probably after this weekend, I will probably have stock of Mighty Wipes here. So if you're looking to get Mighty Wipes out near me, I'll probably be able to sell them to you. We just have a meeting on Saturday with the wonderful Pamela, and then we'll get to know more details and stuff like that. But without further ado, we're going to bring on Corey Halbert. All right, welcoming to the podcast this week is the one and only Corey Halbert. How are you doing this weekend?
I'm good. I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good. I'm going to give yourself a few moments to introduce yourself to the fans who might not know you.
Well, I'm Corey Halbert. I race at Brighton Speedway in the Canadian Modified Division. I've been going at it for about 4 years now, and really enjoying it. Really having a lot of fun, learning lots, and every day is new and something new and to an experience. So it's been good, and can't get enough of it. And it's a great hobby to be into.
So before that, you raced in the Canadian Modified Series. Did you race in any other classes or?
I first started in the Stinger division, so your basic V6 front wheel drive, nothing to it. You just strip the car down and put a roll cage in it and go racing. You do have to have safety belts, and that's about it, though. Like you can get away with a lot in that division. So I started there. I did that for a year, and then Andrew Hennessy was getting rid of his modified, so I had to jump all over that. If you're gonna go up to a division, I always said you might as well buy the best car available, and at the time, it wasn't much better than the track championship car. So
Yeah, it's kind of like when I bought the Tom Walters Super Stock there. It's like it was leading the championship when I bought it, and I bought it mid-season. Like, so if you're gonna buy a car, it's gonna be a good one.
well,
So
that's it.
so this is what, your sixth season? No, sorry, fourth season, I think, in the Canadian Modifieds, I think.
Yeah, it'll be my fifth season overall, and this will be my fourth season going into the Canadian Modified.
Yeah. So do you look to stick with the modifieds for like a few more years and maybe move up to like a UMP mod, or like move up into like the dirt late models, or do you see yourself progressing any further on dirt, or maybe even trying asphalt out?
I've always wanted to try asphalt. I would really, really do want to try it once, or even just to get my feet wet in it. I just so happened, I love the dirt, and I grew up basically going to the dirt track, so it was always going to be that avenue. As for growing with it, I think modified is pretty much the highest I'm going to go. Like if I got an opportunity to drive a late model or like a sprint car per se, I would definitely take the opportunity because it'd be a cool experience. But just with the cost of racing and all the maintenance that goes involved with it and everything, I think right now I'm really content with sticking with the modified and just getting really comfortable driving that and getting competitive in it. So it'd be cool to do some some traveling down to the States, kind of like Dan was doing. But those are open motors and they're UMPs and IMCA cars down there. So that's a whole different ball game. So it's a lot of money to do something like that. So right now I'm really content with just driving the modified here at Brighton and doing some traveling around. Like we're gonna go to Oshwegan this year. And there's actually a race at Merrittville this year, so we're gonna actually try and get down and do that one as well.
Yeah, so for the people that don't know who he's talking about when he says Dan, he's talking about Dan Price. Um, so that's how I met you originally, was through Dan and some shenanigans and stuff that Dan does that we're not supposed to talk about in recordings and stuff like that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Exactly. And Dan Price is always good for shenanigans, and he's always, I find, one of the best guys at the racetrack to be around, because it's really hard to be mad at a racetrack when Dan Price is there. Like, you could have the absolute worst day, and somehow Dan makes it better just by like, well, you have a steering wheel.
It's so true.
But
Yeah.
what's it been like to kind of, I don't want to say start a team with Dan, but kind of like have an alliance, with somebody that's that like mechanically inclined, where he can build anything you really need. And
It's been a huge benefit to me for sure, because coming into it I knew basically nothing about the modified, and just having Dan around, he's so knowledgeable. He knows what he's talking about. He's got a good idea of what's going on. Like he's learning just as much as I'm learning, but like he's been around since he was a kid, right? So he's been doing it for so long, and he's been doing so much different stuff. Like I don't think there's something that he hasn't been in or hasn't driven. So like have him pit beside me, to be able to pick his brain, and if something goes wrong, I know that I can't say I'd be able to rely on him, but I can. Like he's always there, and he's always got parts, and he's always willing and so nice and always offering to help. And it's a whole family, like Aaron and Cam, and that family is just incredible to be around, and to be able to say like to be like saying I got adopted into that family a little bit. It's an understatement. Like I've just been blessed to have them be part of my life and be part of my racing. It's truly a gift.
And when you say adopted, for those people that also know Dan Price and Aaron Price, Autumn Colors food is definitely a great time to be adopted in.
Oh, when Aaron comes to the pits, it's always, you're getting fed very well, and it's always going to be something delicious.
And usually sent home in the doggy bag.
Oh, absolutely. She knows I have a sweet tooth, so she usually sneaks in like a little bit of a cookie, or she's got these little, I don't even know what they're called. She puts like these brownie style things, and next thing you know, I'm hiding in her trailer just eating all the dang snacks. She'll be laughing at me because I'm over there and I got 3 cookies on the go, and she's just killing herself.
So I'm going to ask you a couple questions here because I've only raced asphalt. I haven't actually got a race on dirt. If somebody like me wanted to jump from asphalt to dirt, what do you think some of the bigger adjustments they'd have to get used to as a driver? Not so much even driving the car, but maybe like some of the difference in like how the day goes.
Asphalt is very, I've from going to races and being in the pits with like Danny Benedict and helping out with them. I've noticed that when you're in an asphalt, you're at the track at 6, 7, 8, even 8 a.m. in the morning, and you're there till 10, 11 o'clock at night. Where with the modified in the dirt, we get up and I show up to Dan's house to pick up the car and trailer around 2:30, 3 o'clock, and we don't even leave. We get to the track around 4, and we're unloaded for 4:30, and hot laps are at 6. Like, it's very, very, I want to say relaxed, because people do take it very serious, but it's definitely a lot easier to get the car ready and maintain it, and it's very laid back. Like, it's not as stressful. There's not as much, I want to say, tension on it, because everybody's very competitive, but it's very different. Like, asphalt is it's constantly going, constantly changing. Whereas dirt, the track changes so much from the start of a night to the end of the night. You can't really adjust anything prior to. You have to do it on the go. And with these cars, there's so many different bars and holes and different things you can do to the car. You can over adjust these cars very easily, or under adjust them. So I would say driving the modified on the dirt is definitely a lot easier, just time wise. Like, you don't have to put so much into it as an asphalt, I would say. But honestly, I can't say 100% because I've never actually driven the asphalt myself, so I don't know all that goes into it. So those guys could be disagreeing with me on that. But like, I've seen Donovan Price and what he does and stuff, and they spend a lot of time getting those cars ready. And I wash a car on Sunday, I put it back into what I call a heat setup, and it's ready to go by Monday, and I put it in the trailer, and I don't go and look at it again until Saturday afternoon, where a lot of these guys are working on those things constantly during the week and everything.
Yeah, I feel that. I think it's for me when I was running the asphalt car this year, each car I consider a 40-hour work week on it, just maintaining it and going through fluids, a freaking nut and bolt checking parts, make sure they're not cracked and stuff like that. Not to mention, it's like, oh, well, this week we're going to try a whole different shock package or a whole different spring package. And it's like, because our track stays relatively similar, we don't randomly get a different pothole and entering a different corner, which you guys have to kind of learn to adapt to, right? You could go to Brighton Speedway 6 weeks in a row and it could be a different track all 6 weeks, right?
Oh, 100%. Even if you get rain on the Friday, it's going to be, it's going to be a tacky track come Saturday, where that's hammered down, where you don't have to lift. And then some weekends you get the sprint cars that are there, and it's a sheet of ice by the end of hot laps because there's just no grip at all. So you're not going any more than half throttle around the track at any given time, and you're still going just as fast as you would be when you're going hammer down. It changes dramatically. And then even from when it's a tacky track, by the time you get to the feature, it could be a night and day. It could be a really slick, dry track, and you have to adapt on the go. And even from start of a feature to the end of the feature, it changes dramatically, even in the 30 laps that we do.
So if you were trying to help somebody come and like race with the modified series or even race on dirt, what is something you would say that they have to have with them other than a pressure washer at home?
Oh, tire wheel covers, get some dirt out of the tires. But no, stagger bar for sure. I definitely say a grinder. because unlike the asphalt guys, we grind and slipe our tires constantly. So that's big to have for that. And really, you just gotta get out there and drive it. Like, you just gotta get the feeling for it. Like, I don't know how to explain it really. It's just a totally different feeling, and you can feel what the car does underneath you, and then you can change certain things to adapt that car. But like with my car, I can turn off the right front brake if I want, and that'll help get the car turned in more when it's really tacky. Or I can adjust the brake where I can put all the brake in the front or all the brake in the rear, depending on how the track condition is, and that makes a big difference too. And with these cars, it's not so much the brake as it is you can pitch the car into the corner with just a snap of the steering wheel to get it turned, and then the whole car is sideways, and you're turning right to make the thing go left. So you're basically just peppering the throttle all the way around the corner.
So once again, this is half of me being curious because like I've never run dirt, and I feel like some of the guys that watch this podcast are going to be curious as well. They may have jumped in a bone stock or something like that, and it's one of those things that like every dirt guy I think wants to try asphalt once, and every asphalt guy wants to try dirt once. Just to be like, we did it. And like even Dan was for the longest time was I'm not a dirt guy. I'm not a dirt guy. Now all of a sudden he's got a dirt modified, and this is his second one, and it's like, so who knows where that will go? But before we get too far here, I'm going to actually start the fan questions that we had submitted. So Wade Yarrow asked, what were some noticeable improvements from 2022 to 2023, and what are your goals in 2024?
For improvement wise, I would definitely say comfortable with the car, like being able to feel what the car is doing and actually manipulate the car to do what I want. So a lot of it's control of that car. And improvement wise, I was getting faster for sure. I wasn't, being a little schoolgirl driving the car around the track. I was actually, putting my foot down and actually trying to keep up with some of these guys that are running up front. So that was big for me. Some of the other improvements would have been, just maintenance on making sure I was doing my proper maintenance, my proper bolt check, and just making sure I was ready each week. Cause I found that near the end of the year, I was kind of slacking on that. I was kind of getting lazy. And, so that was a big thing. And then just being there every week was make sure I have a big commitment. Goal wise for 2024, I definitely want to win a race. Like, I really want to put myself in victory lane because I want to feel what that feels like, because I think it would be a phenomenal feeling. I got a couple heat races or heat wins last year, so those were really big for me. But I definitely want to be more competitive, and I want to finish in top 5 in points overall. We were just outside of it last year. I actually came down to the last feature. I think he beat me by 5 or 10 points just in the end, so it was really, really close. But yeah, I definitely want to finish in the top 5. I want to get a feature win would be really big, and I just want to make sure I'm competitive every week. Like, I want to be there. I don't want to be at the back of the pack. I want to be up there running with the front guys, and I want to make it I want to put on a show for the fans.
So ever the showman and being competitive, start getting yourself as a household name in the modified division. So we're gonna get to the Price brothers now, which I think have the most laugh reacts to any comment I've ever seen for fan question period. So I'm gonna ask Donovan's first, and Donovan wants to know how many times you've won hot laps, and can you explain hot laps to maybe the asphalt viewer who doesn't know what hot laps are?
So hot laps is basically like your guys' practice sessions when you go on asphalt. But with our hot laps, we show up at the track and we only get 3 laps. So we go out there and they're called hot laps. And for some reason, I am so good at hot laps, it's crazy. I'll go out there and I'll run the best lap of my life, and somehow I'm finished first in hot laps. So and then come feature time, I go completely straight backwards. Like, it's just complete opposite by the end of the night, and I can't figure it out, and I don't know why. For some reason, I'm very good at hot laps, and I've always have been. And we just think it's funny because we got these, Dan Price made up these little stickers, and they're called hot lap winners. So every time I won hot laps, I got a hot lap sticker. So the side of my car, it's got about 4 or 5 hot lap stickers on it. So that's basically what the running joke is because all I ever do is win hot laps.
So what you're saying is they need to run the feature first and hot laps last, and you're golden.
Yeah, like that would be probably best because I don't know what I could do or what I change from hot laps, but by the time feature rolls around, I'm just right backwards.
I wonder if it's a mixture between the track change from maybe like a fresh track to Also, maybe by the time the end of the day, you're a little bit more tired, and you got to hang on to the car the entire time, keep it up on the bars the entire time too, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of it is, like you said, the track condition, because normally at the start of the day, the track is pretty tacky where it's hammered down, which I find I really do well in. And then come feature time, they've had a bunch of different divisions run on the car and a bunch of different features, and it usually slicks off. So I got to just get better on more or less throttle control and foot control. Because a lot of this with these cars, I find is you got to be able to, use your feet, like braking, get the car in, get it rolling, make sure you keep it up on the bars, and just the throttle control is huge, I think, and that's one of my biggest things I got to work on, is just definitely my throttle control.
All right, so the last fan question I'm going to ask you is from Dan Price, your buddy here. Well, both of our buddies. He says, "Who is the car he least likes seeing around lap 12, and why is it the 09?"
For some reason, me and Dan are magnets. Like, it doesn't matter where we are or what we run, we always end up side by side if it isn't in the heat race or in the feature. I don't know why. And then for some reason, I'll always qualify really, like for last year. I don't know what it was. Like, I would qualify really well, and for some reason, Dan would always just miss the redraw by like one spot every time. So I would redraw like anywhere from 3, 4, 5. Dan would start like 7th or 8th or 9. And the running joke was, because he's really good because of his asphalt experience, he'd catch me every single time by lap like 12 or 13. I'd look out my side, and then there go Dan Price, just right on by. And it's just every single race, and I don't know why, but like it was a running joke because he was really good at it, and it just seemed to be every single race in the feature. It was like clockwork. First 6, 7 laps, I'd be motoring, and then all of a sudden, here comes Dan Price, just slow and steady and just rolling the bottom and just doing his thing, and he comes flying by me on the outside. And I just can't catch him. I couldn't let him not get by, because he's just who he is, and he's it's crazy.
Yeah. So I seen those, and I figured you get a good chuckle on those. But just the biggest way, if you want to keep Dan Price behind you, is just install a new light post in the bottom of Brighton Speedway, and he'll find it.
That or the tractor tire.
I don't know. He argued with me the other day that as long as they stay well inbounds, he's fine. It's when they start coming on the track surface, it's a problem.
But you know what? I got to give him props though. Last year, more times than not, that man was running the high side, and he was putting it up there, like he was giving her. So I got to give him props. He definitely stuck it on the high side, and he kept going at it. So he was definitely doing something different.
I think that's because every time he made a post that he was racing, everyone's like, "Run the top, run the top."
No, for sure.
It could have been a one groove track, and nope, run the top. But there's no groove. We don't care. Run the top.
Yeah.
Peer pressure at its
yeah.
finest.
Oh
So
yeah.
while you're driving in the car, and obviously every lap the car changes and the track changes and stuff like that, as you're entering the corner or getting ready to enter the corner, other than traffic, what makes your mind pick which lane you're going to run as you go through each corner?
A lot of it's where everybody else is running too. So like you can't pass somebody if you're just following them around the racetrack. So you kind of want to try and be somewhere where they're not, and you really want to try and line up your pass or time your pass. With these cars, you can set it up where you can come in high and you can drop the car really low and dive bomb underneath, or you can full throttle it around the outside and just hammer down on a slick track, and then just hope that it sticks, and the cushion keeps you on the track, and you can just throttle around the outside all the way around. So coming into the corner, you're really just basing it on, for me at least, I'm basing it on where the guy is in front of me, where everybody else is running their line, and I'm trying to do, well, at the same time, I'm trying to stay with them, but then you're trying to do something a little different, because like I said, you can't pass somebody if you're just following them around the racetrack the whole time.
Yeah, and trying to see where Dan Price is so you can kind of keep him behind you.
Yeah, that's just inevitable. It's coming by lap 12, so it's game over.
So 11 lap feature. I was hot laps first thing of the day. Corey Halbert has this.
Oh yeah, in the bag, like checker flag. It's like just send me home victory lane. But everything after 11 laps and no hot laps, we're done.
So, as a Brighton Speedway regular now, I gotta ask this question: have you ended up in the creek?
Close. I've come close. I put the Stinger in the creek once back when I first started. The modified, Not yet, but I've put it over top of turns 1 and 2 a couple times and down the hill on the embankment. Not personally put it in the creek. I've seen a couple go in. I've seen a couple flip. I've hit my fair share of tractor tires, but not yet put it in the creek. So knock on wood, we don't start this year. But yeah, we've been pretty lucky so far.
I feel like almost every driver in the Brighton Speedway Hall of Fame has landed in that creek at least once.
Oh, I would agree. Yeah, because if you're not driving the piss out of those cars, then you got to drive them. The way those things work is you can't take your foot out of the gas, and if you do take your foot out of the gas, the car's going to want to turn right on you. So you got to stay in the throttle. And sometimes, we get close racing and you get bumped up, and as soon as you get up over that embankment, you're gone. And it's all grass down there, so that car slides and it just keeps sliding. So it's not hard to get in there and try. It's pretty messy when you do.
So I see, or I heard you were saying you're going to Oshweek hopefully once this year in Merrittville. What are
Yeah.
some of the learning curves you think you'll have going to those two tracks?
Last year we got to go to Oshweek for the first time. That was my first time ever traveling away, and it was great. I had a great time. Like, I absolutely loved it because it was something different for me. This year going there, we got our gearing a little more dialed in. So last year I was into the rev limiter a lot going down the straightaway, so I was really restricting myself a bit. So we're gonna try changing up the gear, and it's a bigger track, so it's a lot faster. It was a little rough last year because they apparently had gotten some new dirt in there. So I'm hoping this year it's going to be a little more smooth, and then we can really throttle up and drive it pretty hard. It's at Oshwegan, it's like the UMPs and open guys too, so we get to race against some really big names down there. So it's really neat to actually go against other drivers other than just your regular Brighton Speedway drivers. As for Merrittville, I've never been. I've never actually even seen a race there personally myself, so that'd be a whole new experience. From what I've seen, they have guardrails on the inside of going around the turns, so that should be interesting. So I'm going to try and stay pretty clear of those, because if you catch one of those, I think you're going to send you flying. But that track, from what I've heard, is pretty close to Brighton. It's a little wider, a little different shaped, but I think our gearing should be pretty much bang on with what we run at Brighton there. But it'll be pretty much just winging it and seeing how it goes. And we'll put our regular setup in it. And if we need to change anything throughout the night, we'll make little adjustments here and there. But for the most part, we'll just put our regular setup in and just, send her.
Adapt on the fly. Hopefully it works out.
Yep, absolutely.
So maybe that's what you need, is just get a little bit of the comfort zone and find that you do a couple setup changes at Oshwegan to make the car a little better, and a couple different changes at Merrittville. Then when you come back home to Brighton, maybe you can adapt those to being faster and like a 30-lap feature.
Yeah, 100%. We just try different things. And like I said, I'm still learning. Every time I get in that car, I feel like I'm getting more comfortable and I'm learning more. So the more laps I make, the better. Like, I've only made, because we have this thing called speed, whatever it is, that tracks for our track times and stuff. I've only made about 1,200 laps around Brighton in a modified, that it said. So for me, that's not a whole lot. Like, some of these guys I know, that like these top guys, they've been doing it since they were 15, 16, 17 years old. So they're going on 10, 13 years, 14 years of racing modifieds. So I'm still pretty new at it. So I feel like I'm still learning, but we're definitely getting better, and that's the main thing. And we're having a lot of fun. So as long as I'm having fun and I'm enjoying what I'm doing, I'm going to keep doing it. I don't care if I win or if I lose, but as long as we keep having fun and we getting better, that's all that really matters to me.
Yeah, and you say 1,200 laps, like I feel like an asphalt guy, like especially when you have like bigger races like Danny Benedict with 100-lap races and stuff like that, that's less than a season for like an asphalt guy between practice and qualifying and racing and heats and all that stuff. So like,
Oh yeah, you guys are. Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
So yeah, for that, like, you guys are. Like, I feel like on a given night, we'll get there. We get 3 hot laps basically to get the car ready, and then you go into your heat race, which is 8 laps, and then you get a 30-lap feature at the end of the night. So really, you're only making 38, almost 40 laps, 41 laps a night, give or take, right? And so you times that by, say, 10, you're only making 400 plus laps a year. So you're not making a whole lot of laps. So the big thing is you just got to keep going and make sure you show up every week, and you just got to get that seat time for sure. So like I know a lot of like the asphalt guys, these guys make 100 laps in practice sometimes in a day. So for me to do 100 laps, that's 3 weeks of racing. Like it's just, it adds up pretty quickly how crazy the difference is for sure. But the main thing is like with asphalt guys, you guys can rent out a track. Like say Peterborough, you guys can go rent out a track for a few hours. But Brighton, it's really hard to rent out a track because they gotta pack the track, they gotta get the track ready, and then they gotta hire a bunch of staff to be there at the same time. So for us to rent a track would be I haven't actually I don't know a number off my head, but I can't see it being very cheap, right? Because they got to bring all their machines out. They got to grade that thing. They got to get water down on the track. They got to make sure it's at least raceable, so you're not going to hurt yourself or anything like that. So it would be where Peterborough, like you said, the track doesn't change a whole lot. It's kind of just there, so you guys just go out and you can make 50, 60 laps, no problems. Where Brighton, it's a little different. You can only make so many laps. Where in a night kind of thing. Like they do have a test and tune at the start of the year where you can go out. Last year we got rained out, so I'm hoping this year we don't. It's usually the last weekend before the race starts where you can go out. I think it's like 3 hours long and you can make as many laps as you want. So sometimes we'll make more laps in that 2 days of practice than we do in an entire season almost.
So, and then you brought up to the grinding and the siping of the tires, which not a lot of asphalt guys do. On my legend car and my mini stock, I actually grind the tires because it knocks oxidation and stuff off it for me.
Yeah.
Why don't you explain the process of what you have to do? Because are you doing it between heats? Are you doing it between like every single section you go out, or?
Yeah, after hot laps, depending on how muddy or tacky the track is, usually you don't have to, but you're definitely grinding. Siping, you only have to do. I only do once every Sunday when you kind of do your prep for the next week. You'll grind the tires and then you'll sipe the tires. So what you're doing is you're basically opening up the treads on them, so you can get a little more grip on them and everything. Letting the heating in so they don't heat or they don't seal over. So grinding them, that'll give some more life into it and give you a little more grip going into it. But in between heat and the feature, you definitely want to grind the tires. I run a 4 or a 2-inch on the right rear, and then I'll switch to a 4-inch to suck that right rear in on for a feature to get the car more turned when it's slicker. So I already have a tire grinded and siped and ready to go, so I don't really have to do that one. But like the front ones, I keep the same tires on, so I'll check them, and if they need to be siped, I'll sipe them. But usually, you just a good clean off and grinding in between, and you're usually pretty good to go.
All right, so as we wind down on time here, I'm going to give you a few moments here to thank your sponsors for 23 and any upcoming for 24, as well as where people can find you on social media and if anyone can buy merchandise off you.
Yeah. So J&J Installation was a big sponsor of mine. Amera Farms was huge for me last year. Worldwide Turf, GTA Fabrication. He did all my body work. He did all my setup. He did basically the guy does everything for that car. There's there's Flathead Designs. He did the wrap on the car. Walter Surfaces, they're really good. Oshawa Community Credit Union was on board last year. They were big for us. Wade and Fastenal, they were huge. Anything I needed nuts and bolts wise or anything like that, he was always there for me. And I'm sure I'm missing a couple here, but it's the only ones I can really think of off the top of my head. This year, going forward, I have Amera Farms locked it back in for sure. I'm hoping that J&J Installation will come back on board again. They were really big for me. Oshawa Community Credit Union is going to come back on board. GTA, he's back with GTA Fabrications. Flathead Design, he's going to be doing my wrap again this year. We're going to go after a couple new ones that we're in talks with right now. And Stickers and Scuffs, actually, that's another one that was on board, and they're on board again this year with me. So Cam and those guys, they've been really good. Who else? Just trying to think of. Cochran Automotive. He was on the car last year, and hopefully get him back on this year again. Basically the same crew. And then if we can pick up another couple guys or a couple sponsors here and there, would be really beneficial. And merchandise wise, I don't have any merch yet. I'm still working on that. I did do some t-shirts there in 2022. So just personal ones and stuff. So excuse me. but not yet. That's in the works too. Me and Wade have been talking about doing that. Just trying to get everything figured out first for that kind of avenue. And social media wise, sorry, I just got a tickle in my throat there. I'm on Facebook. JoJo Media actually is going to be doing their media coverage for me, as you as well. Sorry, holy moly. And yeah, I don't have Instagram, but just basically Facebook and through that.
Well, and you got your YouTube channel as well, right?
Correct. Yes, we do have mine. I'm gonna get better at doing that. Kind of slack last year a little bit, but we're gonna try and do it a little more. I got a buddy that kind of does the editing on the videos for me because I'm pretty clueless when it comes to computers.
I'm not far behind, brother. I'm not
yeah.
far behind.
I'm pretty happy if I can turn the thing on and get it to go. So
That's why my computer lights up.
right, you get the button on and it starts doing some turny things, and the screen comes on, and I know I'm winning.
Yeah, mine starts like going through all the colors, and like once I know it hits blue, it's on.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same boat.
All right. I thank you for joining me this week, and I wish you all the best in the race season. Obviously, I'm going to pop down to Brighton Speedway a few times this year and check in on you, get some pictures and stuff like that. You know,
Absolutely.
maybe sabotage Dan a little bit so he doesn't pass you while I'm down there.
Yeah, I don't know about that. He's usually pretty good. Lap 12, he just seems to he's got my number for some reason, so we're just gonna block him. We'll just cut chop him so he can't get by. But appreciate you having me on, and it was really good talking to you. And yeah, if you're ever down at Brighton, come on down to the pitch. You're more than welcome. Come hang out, and yeah, we look forward to this year, so it should be fun.
All right. Have yourselves a good week, and we'll see you next week.